Well, ACC football season is almost over. It's done for the regular season. The portal is popping, all the things. But our he said, she said, fan said, we got to give you the final score in the tally and also talk about ACC SEC Challenge. First time for everything. Let's get it.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, joined by Kenton Gibbs of Locked On Wolfpack. Each and every day, you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you download, subscribe to the pod from anywhere. On today's episode, we're going to talk through our he said, she said, fan said. And more importantly than that, we're going to tell you about our friends at FanDuel. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. We are talking through what has been a journey, but nonetheless, we made it. Our he said, she said, fan said scores. So we don't have to stay here long, but Kenton, it's been a season.
Yeah, it's been a season with some ups, some downs, some good luck, some bad luck, some picks where it was like, we got it right except for one play, and that kind of took it away from us and vice versa. But all in all, I must say, our fans know a little bit of ball. They know a little bit of ball. This final week was a fairly chalk week, right? There weren't too many upsets. This week, there were multiple teams who had enough, phoned it in, all that good stuff. And there were other teams who, had a lot to play for and obviously did so. And so, without further ado, let's get into the final he said, she said, fan said, as well as the overall scores here. Now, for those of you watching on YouTube, we have the names highlighted by what place they came in, green being first, yellow being second, red being last. And this week was kind of a microcosm of the season in a lot of ways because the fans and myself, a little bit in lockstep there, 8-1 for both of us. Everybody got the Louisville game wrong. So, hey, again, I my heart of hearts told me when I picked that game, don't pick against Gas Technicians. And lo and behold, I was wrong yet again. And Candace picked her Tar Heels. And,
as anyone should.
That resulted in another loss for her. And so Candace is 7-2. The fans and I finished 8-1 on the week. The final tallies are as follows. Candace came in third with a 77-34 overall total record. The fans came in second at 82-29, just 3 games back. And the champion, the winner of the inaugural he said, she said, the fans said, none other than yours truly at 85-26, And I could take the time to do a speech where I could thank all the little people. I could thank all the folks who helped me along the way. I could thank the folks who helped me with these picks, the folks who showed up and showed out. When I was picking some teams that everybody thought was radical and it worked out for me, I could talk about certain folks who folded on me when I was inches away from a perfect week. But all in all, I'll say thank you to the fans. Y'all made this thing what it is. Me and Candace obviously are very competitive people. Y'all should hear pre-production and even after production. Things get a little spirited from time to time. And we're glad that the fans participated in the way that you all did. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find a game that didn't have hundreds of voters. And so we appreciate you all so very much. But trust me, come on back next year. And there's another thing that we're doing. For the conference championship game, we're not doing the traditional who wins, who loses. We're going to do who wins, who loses, and the point spread as well. So we're going to do that to kind of, as a final ball in this thing. It's not going to affect the final standings of he said, she said, the fan said. We're just going to see how much y'all know ball, how close this thing is going to be, and all that good stuff. But again, thank you so very much to the fans for participating in the first ever He Said, She Said, the Fan Said.
So are you going to put this in our community page on YouTube?
Yes, it will be up on the community page. As a matter of fact, if you're listening to this or watching this right now, it's already up. Go to the community page, get your votes in. Tell me what you think the exact score will be as well. I'd love to see some score predictions on the post with the conference championship edition of He Said, She Said, the Fan Said as well.
And we'll be talking about this game on Thursday. So if you're checking out and keeping tally of when we're going to go over ACC championship game and all the fun things, we're going to give you a full rundown of who to look for, what to watch, how did they get here, and all of that jazz, and what our final predictions will be, so you don't want to miss that. And it'll close probably on Wednesday night, so we can get ready for that Thursday morning showdown. Fair enough?
Absolutely.
Well, I think, it's been a good season. I'll hold my L, because 77-34 still keeps me with a job. If Halfley can have a job, so can I.
I mean, you won a lot more than you lost. You won a lot more than you lost. You were
I won more than the 50%.
Exactly.
And that'll keep me at the lower tier. You know what? I'm batting with Pat Narduzzi right now.
I'll tell you what. With your winning percentage, you're bowl eligible. You're more than bowl eligible.
I'm going to a bowl game, and that's all that matters to me.
You may get dunked in mayo if you win, but
And I know,
right? That's gross.
I know you all saw the Pop-Tart Bowl and the edible Pop-Tart, the Mayo Bowl, and how they eat. Like, they just...
I have some questions about the edible Pop-Tart and how that's going to work out logistically.
What do you mean?
Because I'm very much so a guy that's like, if I'm going to eat... I can drink off of something if we're waterfalling it. But in terms of eating off something, okay, think about this. A really big Pop-Tart, right?
I don't know. This is a rabbit hole I want to go down.
How do you split that without everybody's fingers and hands touching the piece that you're about to eat? Well,
maybe one person is passing it out,
But if one person's passing it down, think about that logistically. I take a bite and I'll pass it down. Then what? Or I pull off a piece.
Pull apart.
Even if you pull it apart, you know how Pop-Tarts break? That's,
oh, the mind of Ken Gibbs. Either way it goes, that is our final He Said, She Said, Fan Said for 2023 football season. We got a lot of bowl games to talk about. We have a lot of people who are bowl eligible going bowling, even though many people doubted them. We've got a lot to go over on tomorrow's show, because our final power rankings, we didn't want to do a disservice to the power rankings, right?
Yeah.
We're going to give you a final power rankings. We're going to talk about the teams, our thoughts truly on each and every one of them. So you don't want to miss tomorrow's show. But first, ACC SEC Challenge is a real thing. It's happening. It's going down. There's a lot of money to be made. Can't even hold you. There's a lot of opportunities to get some cash. And you can do that with our friends at FanDuel. We all know that FanDuel is good for both football and basketball, but as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOnCollege and kick off the NFL season with your friends at FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. So for the first time ever, the ACC will have a ACC SEC Challenge with our friends over there in the Southeastern Conference, Southern Eastern Conference. Which one is it?
It's the Southeast Conference. Yeah. Southeast Conference.
Wonderful. Well, it all had to happen somewhere at some time. With no longer having that Big Ten notion, I think that there is some pretty heavy hitting matchups on the both men's and women's side. Like, you couldn't write a better recipe for who really is going to be the more dominant conference, because in recent years, a lot of people have been writing off the ACC and saying the SEC basketball is in, the Big East is still what it is, all the things. But North Carolina, Miami, they ain't going nowhere.
Anybody who's saying that is saying that because the Blue Bloods haven't been as dominant as they've traditionally been. The ACC is still plenty good. This is still a conference that is plenty good, that plenty of these folks don't want to see. And that's just the reality. And I'm talking about the men's side as well as the women's, by the way, because we know women's wise, okay, play around if you want to. Play around if you want to with these ACC women and see how far that gets you. But even on the men's side, this conference is better than what many people think it is. I don't know why the ACC across multiple revenue sports have this cloud or this shroud of like, oh, they're going to be so terrible. They're going to be so bad over their heads. But I'll tell you what, I am willing to bet anything on this. Come the end of these challenges, you will see exactly who the ACC is relative to the SEC, good, bad, and different.
Men's Challenge will feature 8 teams in the AP Top 25, including number 8 Miami, number 12 Kentucky, and number 10 Tennessee at North Carolina, while the Women's Challenge features 11 in the top AP Top 25, including South Carolina, number 24 North Carolina, number 1 South Carolina, number 9 Virginia Tech at Ellis, number 7 LSU, number 18 Notre Dame at number 20 Tennessee, and number 22 Louisville at number 19 Ole Miss. So you're going to have challenge on challenge on challenge and big heavy hitters. So that will be fun and exciting. It will happen on Tuesday and Wednesday, November 28th and the 29th. And I just feel like, Ken, we talked about the Big Ten Challenge with the ACC for many years.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the ACC is going to come out on top of this one if our ranked teams can do their big one.
I mean, I feel like on the women's side, for sure, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We get the win here. The men's side.
Not against South Carolina. Sorry. I thought you meant total. But yeah, not
no. I'm not saying total victory. I mean, like in the grand total of this thing, I think our women get it done, despite the fact that we have less ranked teams coming into this thing, or actually the exact same amount of ranked teams coming into this thing. I think that the women's side definitely gets it done in terms of what I expect to see out of the women here. But on the men's side, I don't see anything too drastically different happening. I mean, with all due respect, I think that, again, ACC basketball is being badly underrated. I think that people are giving the ACC much more flack than they should about, oh, this team they just don't look good. They just don't look like this. They just don't look like that. How that Duke team is not, how do I put this? How people are not seeing them right now as like, hey, be one of your favorites to win the national championship is beyond me. It really and truly is. I mean, they're returning so much. They've got so much talent and all the good things there. And so to kind of see that there's not that feeling around them, and to see that they're not the matchups that the ACC drew in this tournament or in this challenge per se, I think a lot of them work out in the ACC's favor. And I just don't see how, the SEC comes out with a win. And now that I think about it, is Duke participating in the challenge? Is Duke's men's basketball?
It's funny that you say that because I was just going to go over all of these games. And yes, they are participating. So good segue, our friend Kenton there on Tuesday, happening today. LSU will be at Syracuse, which, we haven't had the chance to really dive into our teams yet. We're kind of letting them find their identity, sure. Syracuse and LSU, I don't know how I feel about that one.
I agree. I mean, with all due respect, LSU has like all of the penalties and all of the transfers and all of the things in the world working against them.
Right.
But also you're looking at a Syracuse team that like they have struggled mightily in terms of just having efficiency out of their top scorers, out of their guys that really need to get it going. And that's what led to their 2 blowout losses against Tennessee and against Gonzaga. But with that being said, those are 2 perennial powerhouses in college basketball as we know it right now. And this is a Syracuse team that's trying to reestablish its identity post Boeheim, who was there since before you and I were even thought of. Like that's saying something.
Our parents even knew each other. Like, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
100%.
mean, he was there so long. It's been, quite a while since.
He's been through some movements, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. He, at the end of the day, if you want to go back to the last time Jim Boeheim wasn't on a Syracuse sideline, I believe you'd be going back nearly 50 years or so. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's it's replacing him or coming up with a way to kind of move on after him. I'm not surprised that that's going to take them a little time to adjust. So, I think LSU has a good shot here.
Then you have number 21 Mississippi State against Georgia Tech, a Georgia Tech team with a fresh new coach, fresh eyes, and fresh energy. But this number 21 in Mississippi State team is one that's flying like slightly under the radar.
Yeah, I agree. And this Mississippi State team is one that, you know, I talk about Shaq Moore and how much I love him all the time and how much I wish he didn't leave the pack, but I get it. These things happen and all that good stuff. But the reality is Georgia Tech has to figure out something in this game. They have to do something right against a team that is, there's a reason why Mississippi State has kind of been steamrolling everybody in their way so far this year. There's a reason. It's not by accident. It's not by chance that they've only had 2 games that are single-digit wins so far this year. I'm not saying that they played the toughest competition in the world, but I'm saying that this Mississippi State team has shown up and has dominated everybody in front of them so far. Let's see how it goes against Georgia Tech. I think that this is a Georgia Tech team that is this far in the season. They have not looked great. There have been many, many concerns for them, but who knows? We're going to see how this looks.
Another 7 p.m. game with Notre Dame and South Carolina, 2 teams that, for all intents and purposes, got not much to lose, but just trying to help their respective conference get a W. And I think that Notre Dame, with also a new coach, new energy, new vibe, still not quite sure what they are, but it'll be a good one down there in South Carolina. At 7:30, you'll have Miami, number 8 Miami versus number 12 Kentucky, which is the first one where you're like, all right, tip your head and say, all right, now this is definitely do your thing, Hurricanes. Okay, yeah. Coach Larinaga, right? You don't have our guy, Mr. Wong, anymore. However, semicolon, comma, you do still have, some pretty big men down there. What's his name? Norm. Where am I finding it? Come on.
Omer, Norchad Omer.
Yep. There's that.
He's a big body, and I'll tell you what, this Miami team, they have been playing together. They've been playing well, and watching Robert Dillingham play at Kentucky, it's a little bit of a soft spot for me. As an NC State guy, I don't want to talk about it too much, but this Kentucky team, this is one of those teams where you're looking up and you're saying, wait a minute, is Coach Cal going to make these guys play together and be good together? Is that actually happening right now? Is that something that he's going to get out of this team? And so all in all, I think that this should be one of the more entertaining games. It's one of the few matchups where everybody's ranked. So I'm excited to see how it goes down.
Then you've got Missouri at Pittsburgh. That'll be at 7:30. We know that there's no Capel slander on this show.
No, none.
So go Panthers.
None. And no, but very seriously, I think that this is a very good Pitt team. And I think that you're looking at a Pitt team that, with all due respect, the way the football season went, Pitt is not we're waiting for basketball school. They got turned into one this year. That's why Pitt is undefeated at home so far this year. Let's see if they could get another home win in this one. I mean, again, we talk about the Capels, and we jokingly talk about the Capels, of course, but Coach Capel actually is a very good and capable coach who gets it done. And so we'll see how good Pitt is here. I think that this is a lot of good early season tests, and I think the ACC is going to pull off a good amount of upsets in this thing. You can call me crazy, but I think it's going to happen.
NC State and Ole Miss. I think that this is a gimme for NC State if done right. I don't think Ole Miss has the horses stable at all. NC State's riding a high, but I also know NC State to get punched in the mouth and get caught up. So I don't know.
In the inaugural Jarkel Joyner Bowl, I think that NC State gets the job done here. because at the end of the day, Ole Miss relies so heavily on just one or two guys to get it done. And Coach Keats has shown himself to be very good at scheming out one or two guys. You're going to need a complete team effort to beat this NC State team, because NC State's going to come at you in waves. They're going to come at you in droves. They're going to come at you with depth and all the good things. And so you have to match that to beat them. Or you have to shoot the absolute blood out of the ball, which I don't think Ole Miss can do on the same level as BYU. So we'll see. But I think that Ole Miss goes down there and steals one in Oxford.
Do you think that NC State steals one in Oxford?
Yeah, I mean, they're 1.5-point dogs in this one.
I think Ole Miss steals one in Oxford.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think that State steals one in Oxford.
Yeah,
they're 1.5-point underdogs on the road here. You know what they say: the home court or home field advantage is generally a 3 to 5 point swing. So obviously, the Vegas doesn't have a ton of confidence in Ole Miss as it is.
Final Tuesday matchup, there will be Clemson at number 23, Alabama. I have a thing against Alabama basketball for a myriad of reasons, so I'm really hoping go Tigers.
You know, I'll tell you this much. This Alabama basketball team is not the same team from last year, of course. You lose a guy in Brandon Miller who was, rightfully one of the top picks in the draft and all that good stuff.
Right?
They have – I mean, I'll say this.
All right.
Anywho.
Get it out. We pay some bills.
Here, this matchup is going to be about who has the better bigs. I think that the guard play won't determine this one, because if that's the case, Alabama's going to win this one by a mile. With the departure of Honor and multiple other guys who have left out of this program, you're going to be looking at a really, really tough uphill battle if this game is about guard play. However, if you can slow this thing down, if you can make it gritty, if you can get the offensive rebounds, if you can limit transition opportunities, I think Clemson has a really good shot at this thing.
No doubt about that. Guys, when you're hiring for your small business, you want to have as many top-tier candidates as possible to interview. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Go to linkedin.com/lockedoncollege, post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Now let's turn gears here, talk about PrizePicks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America, the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS, because it's just you against the numbers. With the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created specifically for common projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. Make sure that you go to PrizePicks because you want to be a part of some Meek Mill or Andrew Scholes type energy in community plays. Under the promos tab of the app, view entries from some of the biggest names in PrizePicks community each week. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege. Use code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege using promo code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match of up to $100. Kenton Gibbs and I talking through ACC SEC Challenge for the men. Have all those slots ready to go for that Wednesday night setup. You got number 10 Tennessee at North Carolina, the number 17 team in the country. Honey, listen, I ain't gonna hold you. I ain't gonna stay here long. I don't even know how they rank 17. I hope everybody has fun and comes out unscathed.
I'm upset that you took the words right out of my mouth. But in all seriousness,
gonna get dog walked.
Here's the thing. In all seriousness, I think that the goal of this game for them, or for the Heels, should be let your stars star. RJ Davis and Armando Bacot have to show up big time. They can't be
that. Kenton, no, because at the end of the day, the star is supposed to do what Spar's supposed to do. Where are the pips? Gladys is gonna do Gladys every time, every night. She know her number, she know her key. Where are the pips? Where are the helpers?
And here's the problem with that. 9 times out of 10, your helpers don't come along. They don't find themselves truly until you're looking at about the midpoint of the season. And so with that being said, I mean, it's hard for me to fault them and say, oh my God, you guys aren't showing up, when in reality, it's not surprising.
But it's not like Gladys has a bunch of freshmen in first years. Gladys has people who are on the roster and have been there for a minute. And there are some transfers. I won't hold you there, but they play college basketball. I'm over it. Cormac Ryan, you better know you better shoot that three like you freaking Brady Manick. That's what I know.
I'm going to say this. Cormac Ryan has been a little cold out the gates from deep. However,
that's why you came. That's why you came there.
See, I'm trying to say nice things about your heel. I'm trying to say nice things. You just, again, he's due. He's due. You know what they say about a volcano's eruption, right? It's supposed to happen ever so often, and whenever it delays,
Brady made it happen so often.
Whenever it goes off and it's been held down for longer than it should be, the explosion is a lot greater than it normally is. Well, so that's what you're hoping out.
He must have had a pressure cooker on him because baby, he can't shoot nothing.
Listen, it's tough to see that NC State and UNC got the only two white point guards in the country that can't knock down the three. But that's neither here nor there. The reality is, this is a team where I think if the stars truly star, right, and not just did
he find a jumper between now and on Wednesday?
Did who find a jumper?
The one who's a star.
Well, you talking about Baycott or
the only one who ain't got no jumper?
Well, listen, I don't think he did, but he can affect the game positively without a jumper. He is a double machine, and I think that this year, in order for North Carolina to be what they want to be, he has to be a rim protector supreme as well in order to get them where they want to go. And this game against Tennessee is going to be a real tough task for him in that regard, because he has to do it if they're going to get this thing done.
Number 14, Texas A&M at Virginia. Virginia is known to upset. Virginia is known to play slow. Maybe they pick up a tempo because they ain't got no choice against these Aggies.
I'm going to tell you what. We talked about Tony Elliott and how he was a brand new coach and how there was going to be struggles and all that. Well, this Tony is on the opposite side of the spectrum. This Tony Bennett has been there for forever and a day. That backline defense, it makes it tough. It makes it real tough on teams, and it relies on you being unskilled. The only problem with that is these Aggies, they can shoot that ball a little bit.
My biggest thing is I think this is a year where you start to really examine Tony Bennett, because if Kihei Clark is jacking it up and janking it up in the NCAA tournament, something just ain't adding up to me.
I mean, I get where you're going, but I also think that this is a Virginia team that plays so tightly as a team. It's hard for me to say I can see the Aggies easily coming away from this one with a win. Like,
Reese gonna have to do his big defensive one.
Oh, absolutely. But not only that, Reese is their leading scorer. The young man is showing up in many ways. He's their leading scorer. He's their leading assist man. I'm gonna tell you what, this game is gonna come down to how well do the other guys show up for Virginia, because that's who Virginia is. They're not a team where it's like you count the stars to score every night. You count the stars to be stars. This is a team that you don't get an open hand slap. You get a fist. They come together, they get tight, and they do what needs to be done. Can they do that at this point in the season? It remains to be seen.
Florida will be at Wake Forest at 7:15. That should be a solid one. Duke will be at Arkansas, which I think is another one that you circle and say, all right, here's the litmus test for not only the Blue Devils, but for a really solid, surprisingly unranked Arkansas program.
Arkansas just brings out transfers in droves every year. They hop in that portal every year, and they just bring out baller after baller after baller. And yet they're looked at as the underdogs in this game because Duke is one of the best teams in the nation. I mean, Filipowski came back and he's doing what he should do. He's dominating in the ways that he should. There are multiple guys on this Duke team that, we're considering the NBA, that I'm not sure exactly why, but they're back and they're going to be doing good things for this team. I'm looking at this team and I'm saying to myself, Duke needs to get it done here. They need to show that, hey, we can beat quality competition early in the season. Our guys who came back for a reason, and we're going to win a game like this. We're going to have a moment where Filipowski shows up. We're going to have a moment where Proctor shows up. We're going to have a moment where all of the guys that are supposed to be stars, again, this is a game where your stars got to be stars. Jeremy Roach has to show up, do good things, make good decisions with the ball, so on and so forth. And defensively, they have to make it really, really tough on Arkansas in terms of getting to the rim and around the rim.
Virginia Tech will play Auburn at Auburn. Georgia will play Florida State. And Boston College will play Vanderbilt. Again, great opportunities to see them shine. I think Virginia Tech Auburn game is going to be a good one of those three. And there you have it for the men's challenge. Not going to spend too long on the women's, but I definitely think the Notre Dame Tennessee game is going to be special. NC State gets sort of a gimme with that Vanderbilt game. Mississippi State and Miami should be solid, but that Louisville Ole Miss game, that's the one for me that you say, all right, hey, what's up? Hello.
We've asked all offseason, how does Louisville cope with the loss? How does Louisville handle the loss? How does Louisville come back from, having one of the best women's basketball players in the nation leave their team? That has been the question all year long, or all offseason long, rather. And we're going to get our answer in this game. Like, this is, objectively speaking, they have one of the brightest coaches in the game. They have one of the best front courts in the ACC. This is going to be a game that says a lot about this team. This is going to be a game where we get a true feel for, was the Alabama game an aberration, or is that who you are?
Yes, and I think that, obviously it would be remiss if we didn't bring up number one South Carolina or North Carolina. I don't think that's going to be close, but hate to be ugly. The one that's going to be the best game, 9 o'clock on, what is it, Thursday? That Virginia Tech LSU game. That's the one. Kenny Brooks, I hope you laid the pain to Miss 9, X's and O talking, all her stuff, Kim Mulkey.
This is tough, right? This rematch. I mean, this is a rematch of a Final Four game from last year, correct? Or was it the
Virginia
National
Tech played Iowa.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I thought that.
And then LSU played Iowa.
Okay, I don't know why I thought this was a rematch of the Final Four game, but anyway, this is a game where these two teams are, the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme. Both picked to finish first in their respective conferences. Both have the big names. Both have the stars. But one of them is going through a lot of real tumultuous time. One of them is a lot of everything they do is in the media, and not for a good reason. Nobody's looking up and saying, oh, man, this team looks great. This team is looking amazing. This team is looking like something special. And so, Kenny, get your team focused. Keep your team on task. Keep your team, make that fist, and go ahead and do what you need to do against this this LSU team that is going through a very tough time right now, that is very public. You got mamas tweeting at each other, talking about their daughters don't know how to spell and all this and all that. You've got to take advantage and get yourself an absolutely massive top 10 win so early in the season.
1,000%. All of those great matchups are happening again Tuesday through Thursday. You don't want to miss any of that. For our show's sake, you're going to get power rankings tomorrow, and then you're going to get a preview of the ACC Championship on Thursday. So you don't want to miss that. For Candace Cooper and Kendon Gibbs, we always love it when you stop by. Until next time.